Hey everyone, you are listening to Life in Motion, a podcast where I, Heather George, talk to my best friend, Jamie Jobe, about life, the ups, the downs, and everything in between, including the stuff we're not supposed to talk about. Let's get started.
I'm not often alone with my middle son, Chase. He's 13, but we were driving in the car the other day, and out of nowhere, he doesn't like to spend money. He's not super relational with me. I think I drive him crazy, but whatever. But he said, "Hey, Mom, if you got a really nice gift," and he kind of looked at my purse, which here's the backstory. I carry the same purse for about 3 years until it's falling apart and dirty and kind of gross. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I better get a new purse. So he said, if you wanted something really nice, would you like an expensive purse? And I said, well, I don't buy cheap purses. I buy nice purses. I just carry them for a long time. He said, like a nice purse, Mom, like a Louis Vuitton. I was like, what?
How do you know about Louis Vuitton?
And he said, how much do those cost? And I said, I don't know, $1,500 or
Probably more.
I have no idea.
You gotta get a big one.
I said, I have no idea, but no, I don't want that. And so he's like, well, what would you like if you got something really nice? And I can see his wheels spinning. I don't know if he's buying me something. He doesn't even have money. He's not buying me something.
He's asking for somebody else. You think?
Who? Brian would just walk straight up to me and say, what do you want for your birthday? But anyway, so I said, no, I don't want a Louis Vuitton. He's like, well, what do you want? And I go, I'll tell you exactly what I want. I want you to clean out this car. He looked really disappointed.
That's the thing about kids or husbands is they think, I'm going to really get you something good. But what I really want is for you to clean your room.
Change that light bulb, that one that's been out for a long time.
Take out the trash without me asking you. We can do this, guys. It's simple. I'm really not hard to please.
My teenagers, I know it's like this at your house too, their chore is dishes. And I'm like, how many times do I have to tell you that, do you not see the dishes in the sink? But anyway, that's a whole nother.
Then they do the dishes, but then it's so bad. There's still food all over the dishes. Today I was putting away plates and there is sticky stuff on the plates.
Outside.
I'm like, you didn't even wash this. You didn't even wash it. You just put it in the stack like it had been washed.
Who are these people? Who are these people we're raising? We should probably jump in because this is season 1, episode 1. Somebody's given us our own podcast.
I don't know what they're thinking. We need people to know that we have known each other for
my whole adult life, it feels like.
Yeah,
I moved here when I was 22, and I think oh my goodness, I keep accidentally telling people I'm middle-aged.
Okay.
Oh my word.
We're in the best years of our lives.
I met you when I was a mere babe, and no, but I have known you, Heather, at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
Before I had kids.
We've got a lot of history. I met you shortly before you and Whit got married. I remember that because I was invited to your wedding.
You were?
Yes,
how'd you get that invitation?
Because I was on staff. I think we all got that invitation.
We just invited everybody.
So we should probably let everyone know that you and your husband are lead pastors.
We are. We've been married for
oh my goodness, 20-something years. We went on a trip for your 20th anniversary. And
we've been married 21 years? Yes,
so.
We've been married 21 years. And my husband is lead pastor of Church on the Move in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was founded by my father-in-law 30-something years ago. So
I call you lead pastor. You think Whit's lead pastor? Okay,
well,
fine.
You know who's really leading.
Okay, so Heather and I are in charge of the church, and just kidding.
But we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any secrets.
If there are,
they're
accidental.
Uncover them.
Yeah, we will uncover them together. And you know what I love about that is when you've known someone through a lot of life and you really live in community together, like you're saying, there's really no secrets or else we'll uncover them. You're my safe place.
Yeah.
I can tell you the things I'm going through because I know you've got my back and you'll walk with me. So that's good news. So I think together, because I feel safe with you and our listeners they can't see my face.
No.
So
you're beautiful. But you're beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Back to the point. that as we record, I feel safe in this space to be completely vulnerable and honest and transparent with our listeners, maybe even more so than I would be if they were sitting across the table from me like you are. But I think that's what we have to bring to the conversation is honesty and transparency. We love Jesus. We're in a good place with the Lord. We're actually both in leadership at our church and pastor people. But this didn't come easy or free.
I don't think
we've lived a lot of life.
Yeah, and I don't think that where we are today, I think it's a surprise for me, for sure.
To both of us.
You didn't have this planned out?
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, the names that you're going to hear in these stories a lot are Whit, my husband. I've got 5 kids. Fran is 19.
Oh my goodness.
Lucy's 17. Elliot's 15, Zuzu is 11, and B is 8.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm in the middle of teenage life, which I love, hate. I mean, it's great, and it is
Grueling,
torture
yeah.
and, nail biting. It is nail biting.
Really, my kids are perfect. I'm loving every minute of it.
Oh, they're darling.
My kids are good kids. You'll hear about my husband, Brian.
Who works at the church.
Yes, he works at the church. You'll hear more fun poked at Whit and me because Brian, my husband, and Heather are everyone's favorites.
We're the nice ones.
They're the nice ones. They're the ones that people like. My kids are Cooper, and he is 16. Chase is 14, and Eleanor is 7, going on 17. And we are very similar, very stubborn, very opinionated, and mostly always right.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. So this will be a fun ride. I'm really looking forward to this podcast season. And
I'm excited to do it.
Sharing all of our stories with all of our friends.
So Heather, you just shared a little bit about your family. I shared about mine. So I will say from the outside looking in, we kind of got it all together. We've kind of arrived.
Oh, I'm perfection.
But the truth of the matter is we're very normal people. And if we're really honest, we've got some issues.
Absolutely.
Because everyone does.
Yeah.
So we decided as we launch season 1, episode 1 of this podcast, and
Life in Motion.
Life in Motion. We should invite people to look behind the curtain, so to speak, and to say, we're going to willingly share some of our personal issues to let you know that it's okay for you to not be perfect.
Yeah.
Let's bring some things into the light that maybe the church doesn't often talk about, but if we want to walk in freedom and fullness, that we actually do need to talk about. So we'll go first.
Yeah. We are inviting you, our listeners, to journey. My kids make fun of me when I say that. Journey with us.
Just jump in with both feet. We'll share some of our most significant life events right here and now today. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, let's get started.
May as well. I think people would find some bit of your early days of marriage fascinating, or maybe even your early days of dating before you got married. One of my favorite stories from your early days of dating was 2 very, very passionate people. And so safe to say there were some heated conversations, possibly?
Oh, yes.
Okay, some heated conversations. And you'll have to tell this because I might tell it wrong, but that you guys would sometimes be arguing in the car going somewhere. And you guys, Heather's crazy. And so Whit says he would drive in such a way that he could only make right-hand turns because he knew if he came to a complete stop at an intersection, Heather would jump out.
I would jump out.
So he's rolling through stuff. It's too late. I mean, it's too late for him to get a ticket for those kinds of things, right? I mean, that was so many years ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So he was just not quite ever stopping. He just knew she would just jump out of the car.
So true. We are super competitive. So in our early days of dating, a lot of these arguments were over Uno.
Oh my goodness.
Board games.
How did you guys end up getting married?
I don't know. I mean, it was just... Sometimes you think about that and you're like, oh my gosh, you were so dumb. You were in no position to make that decision.
Sure.
But, you know, it's the Lord.
Yeah.
It's the Lord just like, okay, I'm going to keep moving you forward. I'm using you and this experience to shape you and build you.
And boy, did it shape you.
And boy, did it shape me. Yeah. So a lot of early years of marriage were tumultuous, hot, cold, you know, passionate, anger, hate. And
Hate's a strong word.
well, that would be an appropriate word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, you know, I don't think that we ever necessarily got to the point of where divorce was an option or anything like that. But there were times where I was just like, the day after I got married, I've made the biggest mistake of my life.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I had moved into the apartment that Whit and I were going to live in a few months before we got married. And he moved in the day before, I think, and just brought all of his stuff over in trash bags and just dumped it. And then got married the next day. And then we left for our honeymoon. And leaving for our honeymoon, I couldn't find my driver's license. I couldn't, and I'm, you know, it's just frantic. We weren't packed. Got to get to the airport, and we're running late. This is before there's TSA security or anything, so you could just walk right in and run to your plane. But we're on our way to the airport, and I see Whit's aunt driving right beside us out in the morning. She's on her way home after the wedding. And I raise up my hand to wave at her and I realize I've forgotten my wedding ring. I cannot go on this honeymoon without my wedding ring. So I did convince Whit to take me back so I could get it. And there's so much name calling in.
Oh my goodness.
Crying.
By both of you or him to you?
I like to joke that it's by both of us, but really it's just him.
Okay. Okay.
I'm crying. He's calling names, and but he did take me back so I could get the ring. And we get to the airport. We get on the plane, and I mean, there was so much stress that I threw up.
Oh my word!
I pulled out the bag in the back of the seat and threw up, and I was just like, I've made the biggest mistake of my life.
So that obviously was a significant time in your life. Is your marriage better?
Oh my gosh.
I sure hope so.
This is a really long story, so I better keep it short. We had kids. By the time we were married 5 or 6 years, we had 3 kids.
Wow.
And Whit and I had come to a place where we were pretty much doing our own thing, where
more like roommates?
No, because sex was still part of it occasionally.
I think there's roommates that have sex. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I guess there are, yeah.
Okay.
And sex is still part of it. You know, we're not just like 2 ships passing in the night, but he's playing a lot of video games. He's doing what he wants to do. And I had made a decision that I'm just going to live my life and I'm not worrying about what he's doing, because I would have been waiting on him to let's go on this vacation, or waiting on him to pull the trigger on let's decorate our living room or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, let's go out on Saturday with the kids and have some fun. And I'm waiting on him to say, yeah, let's do it, or have an idea and go do something. And I just made a decision. I'm like, I'm just going to live my life. I've got these kids. We're going to have fun. We're going to go out and do things, and you can be home and play your video games and do what you want to do. And I'll be me and you be you. So that's like 5, 6 years into our marriage. And, you know, I'm not thinking about divorce, but I'm just resigned that this is it.
Yeah.
This is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Then fast forward like 5 more years, we've been married about 10 years. And
so these issues were not a small bump in the road. This was your everyday life for a long time.
It was.
Okay.
It was. And so somewhere between year 5 and year 10, Whit really starts to, he would say, hear the gospel for the first time. And that's his story to tell. And that's another story. So I'm not going to get sidetracked there. We can talk about that another time. But Whit really starts to hear the gospel, and it slowly is starting to transform his life. But I can put a marker in about year 10. It was right around when our fourth child was born, Zuzu. He really was significantly changing. And gosh, that was just like new life. When I describe that mile marker in my life with the birth of Zuzu, when I think about that, it is pure joy.
Wow.
It was kind of like things started falling into place where our lives were really joining together that they had not in the first
incredible.
10 years of our marriage. So anyway, that's like the most significant mile marker of my life. You know, my mom dying really shook a lot of things in me and moving me towards God and my relationship with him and what I believe about him and how I relate to him. And even during that first 10 years of marriage, that was significant in my relationship with the Lord, because I made a decision as well that I'm not waiting for you to be the spiritual leader that I think you should be, but I am following the Lord despite what. I'm not waiting for you. We always went to church. We, worked at a church. So it wasn't like we were just hooligans and everything, but I had made a decision. I'm following the Lord.
Yeah.
And when Whit began to seriously follow the Lord and he says, meet the real Jesus, that was the biggest turning point in our life.
I remember earlier in your marriage thinking, he is so lucky to have her. And I can also recall in the last, 5 or 7 years saying to you, you're really lucky to have him.
Yeah.
And vice versa. It's not like he became unlucky to have you. You know what I mean? But just really a marked change that I would say everybody that knows Whit would attest to.
Yeah.
I guess my turn.
Your turn, yes. Tell us something about yourself.
Something significant. I would say if I had to describe myself to someone that didn't know me, I would say I'm a recovering control freak. And when I think about significant times in my life, they all are significant because they have been times where I have been out of control. I'm going to work my way, I think, to what I think currently is the most significant, because I'm kind of the type of person that once you climb that mountain and you descend, that's good. Moving on. So maybe the one that I'm still living in a bit right now, but my first super significant, one of my first, I was date raped in college, and it changed everything about my college experience. I changed colleges. I did not report it to campus security or the police or anything. I think I told campus security, not the police, because I'd been drinking. And so for a long time, at least 10 years, because I'm a control freak, I said it couldn't have happened had I not been drinking. I put myself in the situation. And it took a lot of healing to come out on the other side and say, but a no is a no is a no, whether you're drinking or not.
Yeah.
So to one day as an adult admit that it wasn't my fault for some reason was tumultuous for me. I don't know why. And then my third daughter was stillborn. And I had prayed for that girl. I had prayed for her healing. We knew she was sick. I had prayed for her. I had expected her to live and not die. I had great plans for her. I had bartered with God, like sometimes we do, saying, if you heal her, I will tell her story to anybody that will listen, and I will give you all the glory, and I will. And he held me to those words. I have told her story a lot, but it wasn't the ending I expected. And that grief changed my whole life. I say she's the one child that saved our whole family, because we all went to church and we all loved the Lord. But until he is all you have, you just don't really know him the way you were created to know him.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian and I came to a point where I remember saying to the Lord, I'm either all in or I'm all out. I know you're real. I've experienced your goodness. But if you took my daughter and you're not as good as I think you are, not worth it for me.
Yeah.
And that's a scary conversation to have. I'm either all in or all out. But I would say even possibly more significant currently than that was about maybe only 2 years ago. I was going to some counseling to work through some of these issues from my past, to work through the date rape, to work through still some lingering effects of my daughter being stillborn, and to work through some of my anger issues and my sadness. And I was in an appointment and the counselor looked at me and he said, "You're pretty emotional about this." And I'm not a highly emotional person. He said, "You're pretty emotional about this." And I said, "I'm always pretty emotional about this." And he said, "How long have you felt this way?" And I knew what he meant. It was kind of that lingering sadness just beneath the surface that never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat and I said, "I don't ever remember not feeling this way." And no one would know that about me because I'm a happy person for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said that, or when I said that, he said, "I will keep walking with you, but I think it's time for you to go see a psychiatrist." And I lost it because to me, he said, "You're crazy."
Mm.
And those are not the words he used. That's
Right.
what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "The way that you're describing your feelings, and if you can't remember a time you haven't felt that way, that's not normal." And I was like, I'm kind of embarrassed by how I was behaving in that room because I was like, I won't do that. You can't make me, because I'm a control freak.
Mm-hmm.
And as I calmed down, I decided I would heed that instruction. And I was in an appointment with a psychiatrist. I don't know why, shaking and so scared. And him telling me, "I think you need to be on an antidepressant." And I said, "I won't do that." And he said, "I think you need to do it." Anyway, the wrestling, and I wrestled for a while. I didn't say yes right away. And I wrestled for a while. And so I am still on an antidepressant. I've tried to come off a few times. I mean, if you have anybody that you know that deals with any kind of mental health issues, when you're feeling really good, you are convinced that you are cured and you are healed and you are done. And I still to this day sometimes wean myself right off, and I can tell by the looks on my kids' eyes, like I must be angrier than I usually am.
Mm.
And so anyway, my current most significant thing is the fact that I have issues out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of leads us to one of the reasons we're sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell our friends, our new friends, or my mom, or whoever's listening to us, the three people?
Tell them.
Why are we doing this podcast? Like, why are we here? I mean, we already just kind of bore our soul a little bit. And they'll learn more about us.
Some pieces of us.
Over the...
Why are we doing this? Because we recognize that we all have issues. There's all things that we struggle with. And so often I think that there's shame associated with our issues, especially if you're in the church world.
Right.
It's ridiculous that somebody can't say, "My marriage is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to do it anymore."
Yeah.
Without experiencing a lot of shame. People can't say, "I'm on antidepressants," without feeling stigmatized.
Yeah, for sure.
And you must not have enough faith, or you don't pray enough, or read your Bible. You don't know the Lord. You know, that to have these running thoughts.
Sure.
So many things are hidden. And I feel like this conversation and ongoing conversations is an opportunity for people to maybe hear a little bit of their story in ours.
Yeah. Maybe for us to talk about some things that, at least historically, the church hasn't talked about, to bring into the light.
Yeah.
So we probably should make this disclaimer.
Okay.
We're not experts, but we are brave sometimes. And willing to bring into light some of these conversations. So I think every episode maybe we'll bring a conversation to the light. We'll talk about it. We'll banter back and forth. and then offer some suggestions and maybe drop some stuff in show notes. That's what podcast people say.
Professional people do.
Yeah, we're going to drop stuff in show notes. And also, we're going to have a phone number, or we do have a phone number that you can call in and leave a voicemail if you want to ask us questions.
We just don't have it memorized yet.
Yeah,
so we'll put it in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. We can't be bothered with memorizing phone numbers. They're all in my phone.
Yeah.
I don't even know my child's phone number.
No.
Okay. So anyway, we'll drop it in the show notes. This is what's really cool. This is our plan. Our plan is to let you guys call in with questions, and we're not going to listen to them ahead of time. And occasionally we'll have a question and answer episode, and we will listen to those questions just on the spot.
You know, when I was a kid, back in the olden days, we used to get the newspaper.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember that?
Brian, up until just a few years ago, still got the newspaper because he loves a good newspaper.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, there were like 3 sections of the newspaper that I would read when I was a
Comics?
kid. The comics.
Yeah.
The lifestyle section.
Yeah.
And I never missed the Dear Abby column. Dear Abby, did you read Dear Abby?
Yeah.
Or Ann Landers? Both of them.
Yeah, Ann
Sisters,
Landers, probably.
twins.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Huh.
Anyway, so that was way back in the olden days. And I think this is our chance to be.
Oh my goodness.
You be Ann Landers. I'll be Dear Abby.
Okay. Okay. We should have just introduced ourselves as them. Yes. And we're gonna give you our answers. I'm not going to say advice because you may not take our advice.
Because we're not professionals.
We're not professionals, but we're going to discuss what's most pressing to you, not just what's most pressing to us. And we're going to talk about things that maybe have been in the dark too long.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I know coming up on season 1, we're going to be talking about anxiety.
Because a lot of times people are dealing with anxiety. Maybe you know that you have a problem with anxiety and there's shame attached to it because if I'm really got my life together, if I'm in control, then I should be able to eliminate this from my life.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you don't know.
You don't know, my goodness. Maybe you don't know that feeling that you carry around all the time is not normal, or you don't have to live that way.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's my story. We're going to talk about porn.
There's no 6 degrees of separation when it comes to porn anymore. It's 1 degree. Porn is everywhere. Currently, I'm being bombarded by texts.
I think you should tell everyone
me.
that somehow you're on a text thread where they keep sending you a link to click on.
With about 20 numbers in this text thread. Nobody I know, all different area codes. And now the people in the text thread are commenting in the text thread. And
Let's call one of those numbers
I've thought about
during
it.
the podcast and ask them if they are intentionally on that text thread or if they got roped in
They
like
don't.
you.
They're swearing. They're like, get me off this. Blankety blank. Stop.
Okay, back to 1 degree of separation.
Yeah.
Back to 1 degree. So what you're saying is everybody knows somebody?
Everybody knows somebody. If it's not you, it's somebody.
Okay.
And it's men and women and boys and girls. There are people that are after you and your kids to entrap you in porn. And it is evil.
Absolutely. Hurriedness, busyness.
Oh my. Yeah.
We're going to talk about materialism.
Yeah.
Because you have a real issue with that.
Well, I think I don't. I think I don't. But, I probably do more than I would like to allow myself to explore. I'll bet you that I do.
Yeah.
Because that's the world we live in.
Yeah. The world we live in where Apple Pays just on your phone or what have you.
Why
You can
not?
just buy something and click and you didn't even see how much it cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's that credit card bill every month. We're going to do our question and answer. I have a feeling we're going to touch on some topics that our listeners really lean into, and then they'll call our little voicemail number and ask us questions. And we're gonna continue the conversations. As we wrap up, we're gonna do this every episode. So I'm gonna ask you, what's one thing you're gonna do this week that brings you joy?
Well, I am going to take down the Christmas decorations.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna bring you joy.
It is going to bring me joy because it'll be done.
I have a neighbor down the street at my old neighborhood that they left their Christmas tree up year round.
Yeah,
and they would just
decorate for Valentine's Day.
I don't know if they did or not. They would just close these shears over the window so you could see the tree in there still, but you didn't know if it was still decorated or if they changed it, but you could still always see the tree.
This is the longest that I've ever left the
I would hope
decorations
so.
up.
I would hope
Usually
so.
I take them down the day after Christmas, but we've just kept the celebration going because I've been too lazy to do
Yeah.
anything about it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to getting it done, but I know that it's probably going to be torture to actually do it because I'm going to be making the people I live with
Oh, yeah. Help.
and clean and dust and everything. And it's just going to be me harassing them until I finally do it myself.
I'm just going to use that as mine also. That's what's going to bring me joy.
You're harassing me that my decorations are up and
We're two peas in a pod. That's why my 7-year-old is negotiating with me right now. So we have a Christmas tree upstairs. It's our kids. They can decorate it any old way they want. And my Christmas tree, I want to decorate the way I want it. I want it to look pretty and lovely. It's taken me this far in life to have it like I've got all matching decorations. It's just what I like. And Eleanor said, I will help you take down the Christmas decorations if next year you let me help you put them up. So I said, okay.
Well,
I said,
with
okay.
the clause, as long as you do it my way.
If you have enjoyed our podcast today, you should subscribe to Life in Motion. You can find us anywhere you download podcasts. You can also get more information at churchontheMove.com/inmotion. We hope you do something this week that brings you and the people around you joy. See you next time.